So, what if I told you that the reason someone would shell out 4 million euros for a bottle of water is the exact same reason you can't tear your eyes away from reality TV? It sounds crazy, right? Well, in today's Explainer, we are going to dive deep into the powerful and very human stories we consume, often without even knowing it.
First things first. Let's just look at this number. 4 million euros. That is the real price tag for one single bottle of water. And no, that's not a typo.
Now, you're probably thinking exactly what I'm thinking. Okay, sure, the bottle's made of platinum and has some diamonds on it, fine. But what about the actual water inside? Is it from some mythical fountain? Does it give you superpowers? I mean, what could possibly make it worth that much?
And here's where it gets really interesting. What on earth does this incredibly expensive water have to do with that feeling you get when you just can't look away from a fight on a TV show? Well, let's connect the dots.
To really get this, we have to start with the water itself. And it all begins with this really fascinating experiment.
So, researchers set up this simple blind taste test. They got 5 different brands of water, from the super cheap stuff at 35 cents a liter all the way up to a fancy $6 bottle. They poured them into identical glasses, and the task for the participants was simple. Just rank them based on taste. At first, the results were, well, pretty much what you'd expect. Most people were just confused. Like this one person said, they all taste the same to me. No big surprise there, right? But then, something really cool started to happen. When people couldn't find a real difference, their brains just started to invent one. One person decided a water felt fancier, and then tried to justify it saying, it has more sodium, I think. They were literally creating a story in their head to make it all make sense. But hold on, because the researchers saved their biggest trick for the very last person. This final participant, a woman named Jui, walked in thinking she was doing the exact same test as everyone else. She had absolutely no idea what they were about to pull. So what was the secret? Every single one of her glasses was filled with the exact same ordinary tap water. And yet, she confidently ranked them. She said one tasted like iron and called another one classy. Her brain didn't just notice differences, it built an entire narrative of quality and taste completely from scratch. I mean, that's pretty mind-blowing. It proves that if even plain old tap water can be seen as classy, then the price difference we see on the shelf has almost nothing to do with the taste. The value is being created somewhere else. So the real question is, what are we actually paying for?
To understand the cost, you just need to know there are basically 2 kinds of bottled water. You've got your filtered water, which is processed in a plant, but then you have spring water. This is the stuff that comes from a natural source, supposedly untouched, pure, and this is where the story really starts.
The crazy price of this spring water really boils down to 3 things. First, it's limited. A spring in, say, Norway can only produce so much, which makes it feel exclusive. Second, shipping. I mean, hauling heavy water all the way from Fiji costs a fortune. And finally, the branding. That heavy glass bottle, the slick label, it's all designed to feel special in your hand. So here's the absolute key takeaway from all this. When you buy that expensive bottle, you're not really paying for better water. You're paying for its story. A story about purity from a remote glacier, a story about rarity and luxury. It's a narrative that we are biologically wired to find appealing.
Okay, so we're willing to pay top dollar for a good story in a bottle. Got it. But how does that connect back to our love for drama? Why are we so completely hooked by conflict, betrayal, and all those shocking twists? The answer, it turns out, is all about our brain chemistry.
Let's meet the main character in this part of our story, a chemical called dopamine. You've probably heard of it. Think of it as your brain's own little reward system. It's a hormone that gives you a little hit of pleasure when you do something your brain wants you to do again. And here is the secret. From way back in our evolution, our brains have been hardwired to be obsessed with stories. See, a dramatic story full of conflict and high stakes used to be a survival lesson. It taught our ancestors about dangers and social stuff from a safe distance. That ancient wiring is still there, and it makes our brains snap to attention. So what's actually going on inside your head when you're glued to a screen, unable to look away? Let's break down this simple but incredibly powerful loop that keeps us all hooked. It works like this powerful, endless cycle. You see some drama unfold, your brain immediately goes, oh, this is important,
and rewards you with a hit of dopamine. That feels good, right? A little rush of excitement. And because it felt good, your brain says, hey, that was awesome, let's get more of that, which sends you looking for even more drama to get that feeling again.
And don't underestimate how powerful this is. To your brain, that chemical rush you get from watching some intense drama can be just as rewarding, or sometimes even more rewarding than a physical treat like eating chocolate. It's a real biological high.
But there's always a catch, isn't there? Just like any other reward loop, this can get addictive. We can get so used to those chemical hits from drama that normal everyday life starts to feel, well, boring. Some people even start to subconsciously create conflict in their own relationships just to get that familiar rush and to feel something.
So this brings us full circle. We've got expensive water on one side and our brain's intense craving for drama on the other. What's the final piece of the puzzle that ties it all together?
At the end of the day, it's all about the story. For the expensive water, it's a marketing story of purity and rarity that convinces us to pay for it. For media drama, it's a biological story of conflict and emotion that our brain pays us for with a hit of dopamine. In both cases, it's a powerful narrative that's shaping our behavior. You can really boil it all down to this. They are both stories that we consume. We buy one story with our wallets, the other, our own brain chemistry demands that we seek out with our attention.
Which leaves us with one last, really important question to think about. Whether it's the story in that bottle or the story on your screen. Are you in control of the narratives you consume? Or are they, in their own quiet way, consuming